Hi guys, very quickly on the common dysfunction in our lives. I've covered the lower back pain chapter once. I'll put a link down below. If you see this image, this is how a common human life, at least majority of them, look like. Sitting and working on a computer, gazing on a screen. Even though if you try to sit straight, but your laptop is here, or your screen is here, or maybe your mobile is here, then you tend to create this curve. What it does is, you have a forward head posture and you're slouching from your back, so you have very weak hips here and tight hip flexors. Hip flexors, if these are your abdominals, this is your spine. Hip flexors attach from back of the spine to the front of the thigh. Okay, so these hip flexors, because of a lot of sitting, they become tight. Now, if you try to stand up, the hip flexors are pulling the spine from the back, and your head is forward. This is how the spine curves. Common dysfunction, a very common pelvic tilt and a forward head posture that occurs, which leads to a lot of problems of the cervix. You got spondylitis here, you got lower back pain, lots of pelvic problems, and if on top of this you load this, if you are into training, you are further on for trouble. Okay, so very quickly, how to fix this? You have to straighten the curve. Okay, it's not going to be totally straight because it's a spine and there are muscles involved, there are organs involved. So there's got to be a neutral range to your spine. How we can fix it? The dotted lines I have indicated as release or loosen. The straight lines I have indicated as strengthen, or you have to work to strengthen those muscles or areas. In this posture, what has happened is, because of the forward head posture, the back of your neck is very tight. When you're slouching and working on your laptop, the front, the area between the front shoulder and the chest, the pec minor, is very tight. It leads to rounded shoulders and a weak upper back, of course, because if your upper back is strong, then your posture becomes, very intact. Gradually going down, because it's written like this, your hip flexors are very tight, they're pulling the lower back, your abs protrude out and they are very weak. All in all, this area up till the below the pelvis becomes round, becomes weak and becomes hanging. Your lower back becomes further curved, and this gives a lot of back pain, lower back pain, right above the hips. With this, the glutes or the hips again become very tight because there's no tension involved. If your glutes are tight, glutes are squeezed, automatically the hip flexors become lengthened, but they are shortened and you have not worked your glutes or hips. That means your abs are weak and your hips are weak. The above condition, where you have a forward head posture, tight pec minor or front shoulder, weak upper back, and there is one more, a weak front part of the neck or neck flexor. Neck extensor is tight because it's like this only, so it becomes tight. But neck flexor is not strong. If it has to be strong, it has to go like this. It's not like this. Look, it's actually like this. So this is the upper cross. Yonder's upper cross syndrome. Similarly, your abs are protruding out, hips are going back. It's a kind of a Donald Duck posture with tight hip flexors and a tight lower back. Yonder's lower cross. So we have X here, we have X here. Moving on, to fix this issue, as I mentioned before, dotted for release, straight lines on strengthen. You have to release the tightness. What is tight? Back of the neck. Release this. How? There are a lot of different techniques. The tightness isn't just only in one area, it brings down towards your traps, this part. So you can take a tennis ball and just release it here against the wall, against your rack or something like that. You have to strengthen the neck flexor or front of the neck with a lot of different things. Weighted neck flexions, lying neck flexions with the body weight. With a band you can flex your neck. Okay. Release pec minor. You have to release this so that the shoulders can go back. Loosen this with foam roller, with lacrosse ball, tennis ball or grid ball. Of course, you can stretch it as well. You can stretch the neck areas as well to loosen it. Strengthen the upper back, very important. Upper back is the new abs because most of us have weak upper backs and they are one of the most functional muscles of the rhomboids, rear delts, the lower traps, the trapezius, serratus, shoulder blades. So these have to be intact. If those are intact, the rounded shoulders become square. Abs have to be strong. With the abs, I just don't mean the six pack that everyone cares for. By abs, I mean the inner abdominals, the transverse abdominals that hold your spine together. Okay, that is the entire inner core, part of the inner core. So you have tummy vacuums, planks, anti-type movements, and of course you have your hanging leg raises and the direct abs exercises. Loosen the lower back. How you can loosen the lower back? As I talked about the hip flexors here, you have to lengthen the hip flexors so that they put less pressure on the lower back and they don't pull the lower back, the lower spine when you stand. How you can lengthen it? By stretching. In a split position, hip flexors get a very good stretch. I'll put a link down below for reference to hip flexor release, hip flexor stretches. You can have a look. Again, loosen the hip flexors as I mentioned. This is interrelated. Once you do this, you're ultimately helping your lower back get less and less of pain and tension. Along with this, you can also release or stretch the upper glutes. And there's a muscle known as piriformis. It's very small and it gets very tight because of a lot of sitting. Okay. So if you release it with a tennis ball, it's one of the most efficient ways, and I myself had a lot of lower back problems and it eradicated everything. So tennis ball release, even you can release it with a grid ball, medicine ball, that hard medicine ball. Okay. Again, I'll put a link down below for this as well. And finally, you strengthen your hips. Hip thrusts, squats, deadlifts, Romanian deadlifts, a lot of different hip exercises that are there to help you. Once you tighten those glutes together, once you have that muscle there, that hip flexor will not have that much power. Okay. All in all, if you dial in the upper back and the glutes together, 90% of your problems are eradicated. More than that. Because these are one of the most functional things that you could do, and that is why deadlifts are very, very, very functional. Because deadlifts work your posterior chain. You're holding the barbell, your upper back is intact, you're lifting it with your glutes. What more can be functional than the deadlift and its variants? So that is why it's very important to train, to fix your posture along with releasing the tighter muscles. Okay. So guys, if you have any questions pertaining to posture, pertaining to strength training, nutrition, please hit me up in the comments. I'll be happy to help.